Hi, I'm Storm.
And I'm Mike.
And we are from Advanced Group.
What are we talking about today, Storm?
Today we're talking about this, and I believe it's called a rocket socket.
Yep.
And I believe, are these used to hold up signs?
Poles. Yep.
Poles, sorry.
Yep. So the most common post that we sell for traffic signs, road signs, is a 60 mil outside diameter pipe, post, pole, whatever you want to call it. I'd say 90% of traffic signs, road signs that are mounted on poles, they use poles like this in Australia. 60 mil outside diameter. Other industries, they might refer to the inside diameter of the pipe, which they call a nominal bore. So this pipe might be called a 50 mil nominal bore. However, in our industry, we refer to the outside diameter. So it's a 60 mil outside diameter pipe, post, pole, whatever you want to call it. This rocket socket is designed to fit together perfectly with this size pipe.
What is the rocket socket made out of?
It's steel, and it's got a hot dip gal coating. Hot dip is one of the most the best choice for materials to coat a metal so it won't rust, corrode, or it's best for the elements in a lot of ways. It's economical, etc. So it's got a hot dip gal, which you probably expect to last at least 50 years in the elements, even if it's in water. Yep.
And so this would obviously looks like it would go in some dirt.
Yep.
And how would you put it in there?
So there's a few different tools that we sell, or probably at least two that we sell for installing these. One is a manual tool, which is just a solid piece of metal which has got a high temper, which goes into the socket part. And then you can hit that with a sledgehammer. Or if you are doing a lot of them, if you owned a jackhammer or if you hired one, we do have an attachment which goes onto a jackhammer to be able to jackhammer these into the ground. However, depending on how many you're doing per day or week or whatever, whether that's worth the investment, because the price differences are more, obviously. And having to have a jackhammer with you could be, extra stuff in your kit which might not have space, or power nearby, or if you've got a petrol one, then there's other complications, etc. So time to go and hire one, etc. There's different reasons why you might use a sledgehammer or a jackhammer. For me personally, I only would ever strictly mostly use this 99% of the time if it's a temporary sign installation. So for example, a roadworks, maybe a freeway, highway, tollway or something, and it's going to be some signs there for 6 months or something, plus or minus. If you're just putting a sign on the stand, you might have to pack it up every night, or it might blow away if there's a storm or a big gust of wind or something like that. These were originally designed and purposely introduced to the market for temporary signage. So you might notice on the listings on our website that it's called a temporary, or for temporary use. Maybe 1% of installations I might use it for permanent applications. If you just stick to 600 mil in the dirt and put this pole with some rapid set concrete, that's probably fairly economical and best practice. However, if that's not possible, for example, I've dug for 2 hours in some pretty solid ground surfaces, and that was uneconomical for time and expenses for the customer. So in that instance, I did break my own rule and use these. I dug down as deep as I could go in a short amount of time, and then drove this into the ground, put some concrete around, made this below the surface level of the ground, put some concrete around, and then smoothed over whatever was the material, whether it's dirt, tan, bark, grass, or sand, gravel or something. So that's nice and neat around the pole. One of the problems with bashing this into the ground is trying to make sure it goes in straight. So if a pole is ever off plumb, it looks pretty ugly and unsightly. And so as you're hitting this down into the ground, you'll need to periodically put the pole in, put your spirit level on the pole, make sure it's going straight. If it needs adjusting every 50 mil, 100 mil, just adjust it, get it back straight, and then start hitting it down again. So it's a bit of time playing around putting this in and out as it's going into the ground. Make sure it goes in plumb, because sometimes if you get it, on a certain angle, 15 degrees off plumb, 10 degrees off plumb, you can't even put it back plumb, and you've already installed it, so you can't really easily take it back out.
So while that was in there, is this the wedge for it to kind of...
Yeah. So this has been engineered perfectly so that it's got a squashed part here, and then there's a notch area there so that the wedge can go into it. This is very strong. That's the perfect size for this. This is the perfect size for that. So if you didn't have the squashed part and you put a wedge in, when it's all straight, it's going to make it go off plumb. So that's why it's squashed there, so that can go in perfectly. And then it's the perfect dimensions so that you can't pull it out. And that will be fairly permanently in there. So you can sometimes get them out with a hammer, but sometimes you can't get them out with a hammer, and you would need a special tool, which we sell as well separately. But yeah, it's very tight once that's together. Any other questions?
No, so really know there's a smaller version of this.
Oh yeah, so we have another one of these on our website, which is a shorter one. The other one is about 400 mil. This one's about 600 mil. And the reason why there's two sizes is deliberate. If you are worried about something's under the ground when you're installing it, especially in rural areas, especially in residential, you'll have many different issues with services going to and from the house, gas, water, electricity, telephone, etc. So you have to be careful, obviously, every time you're installing these sorts of things, whether it's digging into the dirt or hitting one of these into the ground, because it could be very costly and a bad day for everyone if you did interrupt someone's service. It does happen, so it's important to have insurance, but should always dial before you dig, so that you know what's in the area before you start doing any dangerous works below the ground. If you're fairly confident that there's nothing in the area and you want to use the 600 mil one, it's much better, because it's less likely that it's going to lean over time for whatever reasons, and it's just much better into the ground. It's never as good to use this as this for permanent applications. In a situation where you've got no choice, then yeah, you can use this. There's videos also on our website for how to install this into dirt for permanent. Even if it's temporary, I would always dig out some dirt first, because once you put the installation tool into the socket and you're driving it down, all of that surface area that's pushing it against the dirt when you're hitting it can cause these welds to break, and it's just costly, time consuming, and annoying for everyone if you're breaking them, especially if you don't have enough for your job and you've got to go back and get more or wait for a courier. So I would always dig out some dirt first before installing this. It'll also make it easier to make sure as you're driving it down that you get it straight, because it can have to move it a little bit every now and then to make sure it's going down straight. And then you can always put some dirt back into the hole around it once you get it in there. But yeah, without concrete around, it's always going to lean over. Even if, no matter how strong you think the dirt is and how well you think you've installed it, 1 year later, I guarantee you, 99.9% of the time they're leaning over and it's very ugly. Worst case scenario, someone just pick it up and walk off with it.
If it does start to lean over, can they just fix it by pushing it back straight and then placing some dirt there?
You can try, but they always lean back over.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is always to have at least a bag of rapid set around the hole at the top here, to stop it from going, if it's permanent. to stop it from leaning over. If it's temporary in a roadwork zone, then it doesn't really matter. No one's really judging that. But if it's permanent, especially at a shopping centre, it looks very ugly. And as I said, worst case scenario, someone could just pick it up and walk off with the whole sign and pole.
Which they'll probably do.
Yeah, especially if it's no standing in the park there. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. You can buy this from our website from www.advancedgroup.com.au. If you like this video, if you want to see more, please like it and subscribe. And thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.